Good morning and welcome to Business 360, because it's another wonderful day to do business and get all the indices that has to do with businesses. The global outlook continues to soften as the interaction between financial markets and the real economic clouds the outlook for both. The impacts of the lockdown in China are having a depressing impact on commodity prices. Equity markets reflect these cyclical concerns as inflation continues to accelerate. This leads to an upward revision to expected and unexpected rates in many countries. In today's edition of Business 360, we'll be taking a look at the intricacies of a global market, and we begin with Google. Russia hits Google with fine for illegal content. What a way to start. Russia has hit Google with a 21.1 billion ruble, which is equivalent to $373 million, a fine for failing to restrict access to prohibited material about the war in Ukraine and other contents. According to Roskomnadzor, the country's communication regulator, the information included fake reports discredited Russia's military and posts urging people to protests. Google did not respond immediately anyway. Meanwhile, the company's local subsidiary declared bankruptcy last month. The move came after Russian authorities seized its local bank accounts, allowing them to recover 7.2 billion rubles that the firm had been ordered to pay for similar reasons last year. In recent years, Russia has been ramping up pressure on tech firms, accusing them of not moderating their content properly and interfering in the country's internal affairs. Russia is hitting on all the tech companies right now, just as companies are leaving Russia because of the precarious situation involving Ukraine. Still on Russia and the sanctions involving the EU, Ukraine urges EU not to fall for trap of giving grounds to Putin. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, has warned his European Union counterparts against any temptation to loosen their sanctions on Russia or give in to the demands of President Vladimir Putin. According to Kuleba, while addressing a meeting of the EU's 27 foreign ministers on Monday, he said, "Backing down to Putin's demand will not work. It has never worked, and it is a trap." Kuleba's comments came as the European foreign minister said sanctions imposed on Russia to punish it for invading Ukraine are working, despite the threat of the EU's own energy supplies. And last week, one EU leader, Hungary's nationalist Premier Viktor Orban, denounced the bloc's sanction policy and claimed that Brussels was doing more harm to Europe's own economy than it was in Moscow. We'll be looking at the big story regarding India, why India's top car makers is resisting more airbags. Airbags inflict rapidly when a crash or a car crashes and have been saving the lives of drivers and passengers around the world for decades. Airbags have been touted as the most significant automobile safety innovation since seat belts. So why is India's biggest car maker resisting a federal plan to make 6 airbags mandatory in all cars manufactured later this year? That's the big question everyone is asking. Notably, at least 1 out of 10 people killed on roads in the world is from India. This is according to the World Bank. However, according to Maruti Suzuki, majority owned by Japan's Suzuki Motor Corporation, the move to install more airbags will push up markets, costs, and hurt the small car markets. This will hurt the smaller and poorer people who cannot afford the more expensive cars. Meanwhile, 2 airbags for the driver and 2 in front for passenger are already mandatory in Indian cars. Therefore, adding another 4 will raise prices by at least $230. This is a country where only 8% of households own cars, and an entry-level hatchback costs around $4,250. Well, according to the firm's chairman, R.C. Bragava, the damage will be significant at the lower end of the market. There is huge price sensitivity. Still on big stories, especially in US, there's a lawsuit involving Uber. And Uber is to pay $2.2 million to disabled riders over wait fees, the period of time they wait, and they are being charged for waiting for disabled fellows. Uber has agreed to pay the said amount, $2 million, to settle claims brought by the US government that it time fees discriminated against customers with disabilities. The firm also agreed to waive charges for disabled users in the future. More than 1,000 people had complained about the fees, which often kicks in if it takes more than 2 minutes to get into the car. That is, if it took 2 minutes to get into the car, if this person was trying to get into an Uber car for an Uber ride, there are charges, and Uber is set to refund these charges. According to Uber, its policy was to refund wait fees for disabled riders. In resolving the lawsuit, the ride-hailing company denied any wrongdoing, and that is the question. They have to charge when people cause delays for drivers, but they have to pay back now too. Straight to Africa we're moving without taking any time. Uganda, Botswana, and Ghana are the world's top 3 economies with the most female entrepreneurs. The 2021 Mastercard Index of Women Entrepreneurs, MIWE, has stated for the 3rd consecutive year and has ranked Botswana at 38.5%, Uganda 38.4%, and Ghana 37.2% as the countries with the most women business owners globally. You heard it right. This is the 5th edition of this index, which puts a spotlight on the significant socio-economic contribution of women entrepreneurs around the world. In many African countries, women's advancement is hampered by less supportive entrepreneurial conditions, a lack of funding, less opportunities for higher level education, as well as structural barriers. But however, not in Botswana. Botswana scores in the top 15 economies globally in terms of advancement outcomes for women, outperforming high-income and developed economies such as Canada, the United States, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Australia. It doesn't end there. According to the report, even Nigeria, alongside Angola and Ghana, ranked first globally in the World Women's Entrepreneurship Activity Rate and Mastercard Index of Women Entrepreneurs in 2021. So Africa is doing good in terms of opportunities for women in businesses. But talking about Africa, the World Food Programme has said that the food crisis in Nigeria is getting to a height that is extremely concerning. The United Nations, UN, has released a report indicating that food insecurity in parts of Nigeria has reached catastrophic levels, according to analysis conducted by the UN, Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, and World Food Programme Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Yemen remain at highest alert as countries with catastrophic conditions. According to the report, 19.5 million Nigerians are facing high level of acute food insecurity, including 1.2 million in an emergency if humanitarian interventions are not scaled up and sustained. The situation remains worrisome as over 1.7 million children under 5 years of age are expected to suffer from acute malnutrition through the August 2022, a 34% increase compared to the same period in 2021. However, reflecting on the high numbers of food insecurity, the report noted that the situation remains extremely concerning in conflict-affected areas of northern Nigeria, where insecurity and access challenges are likely to persist. The Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Programme urge the government to distribute home gardening inputs to IDPs and host population to allow for diversification of diets. Among other things, the FAO and WFP also recommended that the government support or should support agricultural-based activities for the upcoming cassava, rice, maize, millet season starting in May, targeting vulnerable households with access to land for cultivation. Food problems is not
and Yobe.
Piri said food assistance is already prioritised for those who are most vulnerable. The situation in Nigeria is
Acute food insecurity, conflict-affected states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe.
Piri said food assistance is already prioritised for those who are most vulnerable. The situation in Nigeria is
Acute
food prices is not just affecting Nigeria alone, but a global concern at the moment, as the price of commodities are going up, especially that of oil. It trickles down to transportation and alongside food prices because of supply disruption all over the world. At this point, we'll go on a break. When we return, Business 360 continues. Thank you for staying tuned. Welcome back. Business 360, and my name is Blyden Ukem. Still on African big stories. Strive Masiiwa, the cassava technologist, or the owner of Cassava Technologies, has secured $50 million funding to accelerate growth. Cassava Technologies, which prides itself as the first Pan-African integrated technology company, said it has secured $50 million investment from London-based venture capital firm C5 Capital. While commenting on the investment, the founder and executive chairman of Cassava Technologies, Strive Masiiwa, said the $50 million is part of a broader funding round and will go a long way in facilitating Cassava Technologies its efforts for digital connectivity inclusion across Africa. Still on and big stories too, we'll be looking at Aero Contractors, as Aero Contractors is about to shut down its flight operation over the challenging environment. The developments came just 2 months after the airline denied reports on planned shutdown of business over the cost of operation in Nigeria's aviation market. According to the statement posted on its Twitter account on Monday, Aero Contractors confirmed that passengers would no longer be able to book flights over operational challenges. According to reports, the airplanes belonging to Aero Contractors are still under maintenance at a period the rise in the dollar rate has increased the cost of maintenance, while the price of aviation fuel has increased from 190 naira per litre to 700 naira this year. quite difficult for businesses. And we'll be going to the Nigerian stock market, pending on what happened yesterday as a reflection of what will happen in today's stock market. Investors gain 60 billion naira as UBA lead trades. The Nigerian capital market opened trading this week with a 0.2% rise in equity capitalization on Monday to set the tone for today's market. The equity capitalization rose by 60 billion naira from 28.15 trillion naira posted last Friday to 28.21 trillion naira after 8 hours of trading. Similarly, the all-share index was up by 104.82 basis points to rise from 52,215.12 points to 52,319.9 points. Saplat led the gainers with 130 naira to rise from 1,350 kobo to 1,430 naira 50 kobo per share. CW upped the losers charts after shedding 10% to drop from 90 kobo to 81 kobo per share. UA led the day's trading by volume with 12.92 million shares valued at 96.87 million shares. Talking about the stock market, we'll be looking at the global stocks all over the world and what's happening in the Asian market regarding, most importantly, the US stock. It remains steady in the Asian market. On the chart below, we'll begin with the United States chart, or stocks rather, that shows the US 30 had been steady in terms of progress and appreciation, moving at 189 points gap today, a change of 0.61% at 81,268 points. Similarly, the US 500 at 863.19 points, an upward movement of 32.34 points greater, a 0.84% increase, as well as US NDX, which has all shown progress in today's, though at a very steady progression. Also, without looking at much of the European markets, we'll also go into the components of the US stock market, what it's doing in today's market, talking about the likes of Microsoft and their performances. United Health had been on the downside at $519.37, a drop of 10.38 at the early hours of today's trade and the Asian market. Similarly, Home Depot has seen a bit of at $293.05, a 0.64%. Chevron, similarly, had been appreciation, seeing a good appreciation in today's market. Coca-Cola, similarly, had gone on a nosedive a bit at 1.65 differentials, talking about negative 0.85%. But the big movers left would be Apple. Apple is at 147.69 price, moving up 0.62%. The rest of the market, including Visa, Walmart, are down today's early markets. But the beauty about the market is being down does not mean it's going to be consistently so. Whatever goes down in the market goes up, and whatever goes up surely comes down. We'll also be having a quick look at the foreign exchange market as euro appreciates to 2 weeks high at 1.02%. But before we'll go on a short break, when we return, the market outlook continues. Welcome. Let's have a quick look at the foreign exchange market and what the market is doing and the exhibitions that is doing this morning, especially concerning the euros, how the euros is performing. The Euro USD had a good appreciation early morning after the parity struggle with the US dollars is at $1.02598 in today's market, an appreciation of 0.0119, or market is moving 0.012, approximately 1.18%. And similarly with the pounds USD, it's moving at a current rate of $1.20286. Good appreciation. Major markets have been up. The Australian against the dollar, they say the Aussie dollar. The New Zealand against the US dollar, similarly appreciation. But you look at a major drop in today's market, would be the US dollar against the CHF at 0.9672 current price and falling at point rate of 0.099 level is 0.99% negative. It's basically what the market is today. And a quick look at the energy market, which will be our last stage of today's market outlook. Let's go to the energy market. We know the Nigerian price benchmark, Brent crude futures, dropped below $105 per barrel into morning market, halting a 5% rally in the previous session on prospects that some major oil producers, the Gulf Corporation Council, would boost production. As you can see on your charts, the crude oil has fallen early morning by 0.22 points, 0.23%, at current price $102.7. Same with Brent crude, a bit of drop at 0.41%. This is how the market outlook in terms of energy is, and we're hoping that there will be a bit of changes, especially regarding oil market, because it's been regularly upward. President Biden had gone to Saudi Arabia in hope that there will be more supplies, and in turn oil prices will drop, because the oil price is affecting global markets and global supplies and all commodities. Well, at this point, we'll call it a day in Business 360 until we come your way tomorrow. To have a lovely time and stay tuned, because News at 12 is next. Thank you for watching.